Hey guys, I'm Mike Murtis and you're watching GamerLogic.net, and today I wanted to talk about the 20th anniversary of this game right here, Final Fantasy VIII on the PlayStation. And my mind is blown that this game is 20 years old. And I have a lot of memories about this game. I have a lot of great memories about this game. And to me, it's a great game. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't played it since it first came out 20 years ago, and the game gets bagged on a lot, that it's not a great Final Fantasy, that the characters suck, etc, etc, etc. So maybe people are right, maybe it's not a great Final Fantasy, but I'm going to go off of my first impressions of it, my first memories of it. One of these days I'll go back, but for now, I really enjoyed Final Fantasy VIII. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course, and I'm entitled to mine. So let's share some Final Fantasy VIII memories from 20 years ago. Wow, I cannot believe it was 20 years ago. First off, I was 16 years old and working at my first official job at Dollar Video in Woodstock, Illinois. We visited that video store so much that the manager there offered me a job as soon as I turned 16, and the day I turned 16, well, I decided to pick up a job there. I went in there, asked her if that job offer was good. She said, yes, when can you start? And I'm pretty sure I started like the next day. And man, I loved working at the video store. You got movies a week ahead of everybody else. And not only that, you got to get the games ahead of everyone else. So PlayStation, N64, any of those CD-ROM based games, I would always get a couple days before they would come out to retail and get a chance to play them, which was fantastic. So at this time, I had already owned a PlayStation. I had a good library of games, and now I was going to be able to experience a whole bunch of PlayStation games because I could rent them for free. Well, as I figured out that these games were coming ahead of time, I had a great strategy for a game that I wanted to play, and that was Final Fantasy VIII. And I wanted to play it early. So when we put that order in for Final Fantasy VIII, I made sure one extra copy was ordered so I would get it a few days early before anybody else, which is really awesome. But before that, we have to go back in time just a little bit to what I believe was that summer, if I remember correctly. I didn't look up any exact dates here, but 16 years old, summer, I'm pretty sure that we walked into a FuncoLand, my friend Gerard and myself, and we asked one of the FuncoLand employees there if they had a game called Brave Fencer Musashi. And included in Brave Fencer Musashi was a Final Fantasy VIII demo disc, along with a couple of their cinematic videos, if I remember correctly, from other upcoming Squaresoft games. So the guy said, yeah, he had it, and we asked, please, could you pop the demo disc in so we can check out Final Fantasy VIII? We popped the disc in, and I'll never forget how damn cool the music was to the intro of the Final Fantasy VIII demo. I don't believe it was used anywhere else, but here you are storming this beach to get on top of this tower, and I just loved the time aspect of it. It was a freaking blast. I love the summoning system. I thought that looked amazing. The gunblade tech was cool. The fact that you could hit, I believe it was R trigger, and do extra damage. I thought the whole thing was cool. The experience was great, and I was absolutely pumped to play the full version of Final Fantasy VIII. The demo, I think, was actually bumped up difficulty-wise, so it took a few times to get through. You had to be really careful. And I remember asking the employee, do they ever sell the demo CDs separate from the main video games? And he said, why would I want to sell just a demo disc? And I was like, I don't know, it was just a question. And he was like, huh, okay. Pops open the PlayStation, says, here you go. And we're like, what? For free? You're just going to give us this demo disc? And he was like, yeah, I don't see the issue with it. It's a demo. No one's going to care in a couple months when the full game comes out. So here you go. My friend Gerard was totally pissed. He wanted a copy of the demo, but because I asked, I was like, sorry, dude, you're going to get to borrow this later. I'm going to get to play it and beat it first. And it was really cool. We walked out of Funko Land with the demo CD for Final Fantasy VIII, and I remember just playing the living crap out of it throughout the rest of that weekend, and finally beating it and just going to it again, listening to that music and having a great time with it. So all of these years later, I am looking at a copy of Brave Fencer Musashi here, and I picked up a used copy of this, who knows, like 10 years ago. And to my surprise, when I popped this thing open, hoping to see the demo CD in there, I do not have that demo CD anymore of Final Fantasy VIII, which is kind of a bummer. I have Brave Fencer Musashi, but don't have the demo, unfortunately. So kind of bummed there. So I guess we fast forward now, right? We fast forward to that time where I finally get Final Fantasy VIII. I want to say I was freshman in high school. Yeah, that adds up because I would have just started school. So it was around fall, I believe. And I would call work, Dollar Video, every day, kind of like a week and a half up to the launch of it to see if it came in. And it didn't come in, didn't come in, didn't come in. Finally, my boss called me, and I could tell she was totally annoyed with me because I was calling every day to find out if this game was in or not. Or anytime I'd come up to work, I'd ask if she had like a tracking number or anything. And finally, she's like, oh, thank God the game is here. So she said, it's here. You already paid for it. Come pick it up because I know you want to play the thing. Just don't play it all night because you have school, and obviously you have to come into work right after school, so don't be tired. I need you at your best to serve customers. So sure enough, right after school, headed over to Dollar Video, picked it up, and here it was, the North American release of Final Fantasy VIII. And I was looking at the front of it, the cover art looked really cool, and the fact that there were 4 discs in this thing, to me, meant that this was going to be even more epic than Final Fantasy VII. And there's something I just love about the look of these PlayStation 1 era discs from Squaresoft. They have that white printing on it. I had friends and stuff that never kept their games in the original packaging, and they would put them in these, these CD booklets. And it was cool because you'd flip through and you'd see all that art like Parasite Eve, Final Fantasy VII, Bushido Blade, all of that stuff. So really, really cool, of course. But finally, I had my copy of this game. We got home, I popped it in, and you hear the intro music to the full intro of Final Fantasy VIII. The real intro, not the demo intro, the beginning of it. And holy crap, that opera, that pushing, that music, all of these instruments coming to a crescendo as these cutscenes are playing, and you have the main protagonist and the antagonist, one of the antagonists, fighting each other and leaving that signature scar that Squall has on his face. Very cool, very epic, got me absolutely pumped. And the next couple weeks, I would spend all of my freaking time playing Final Fantasy VIII, getting all the summons, grinding as much as I can, all the way up to the final boss and defeating her. What a great time. Thinking back on Final Fantasy VIII, like who some of my favorite characters are, I really have to go back to the guide here. And just as I'm talking about this, I'm starting to remember all the different characters that were in this. Of course, you had Zell, you had Quistis, which I had a thing for, blonde with the tall boots and a whip, why not? And just all the different moves and all the different summons and stuff you could get with it. I remember Laguna and being really confused about that as they were switching back and forth. Like, is this some sort of ultimate dimension, alternate time? What is all of this? I remember Seed, that whole organization, going through just all of this stuff. Man, it totally takes me back. And look at all these Guardian forces that I'm flipping through here. Really cool guide. I did not have the guide when it first came out. I eventually picked it up. But very cool having this. Seeing all the world maps and everything. What a blast to have. So I had an absolute blast with Final Fantasy VIII. And if I'm being really honest with you right now, I can't remember all of the game. It's been a long time. It's been 20 years since I've played it. I remember bits and pieces of it, but I do remember having a great time. I do remember finally beating it and telling everyone at work that I finally beat the thing before coming in for a 8-hour shift at work. Nobody cared, but I was still enthused with myself regardless. Eventually, just like the Final Fantasy VII toys, they did put out a line of Final Fantasy VIII figures from Bandai. I did have Squall. I did find these not very long ago at various resale shops and flea markets. We've got Renoa here, and of course Quistis, and we've got all of these in the back. And I'm pretty sure that I had everybody. I had Cypher and Laguna and Irving and Zell. I had all of them. Squall, of course, was my favorite. And I just really enjoyed the whole Final Fantasy VIII experience. Great soundtrack, too. I remember in high school getting a hold of all of the MP3s to the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack and burning them to CD. I had my first CDR burner and burning them for my friend Rick. And I think he mostly enjoyed that soundtrack. But talk about just another Square soundtrack loaded with stuff. And years later, my supervisor at one of my jobs actually found a whole bunch of import PS1 games at a resale shop, and he sent me a bunch of them, including Final Fantasy VIII. So Randy, if you're still watching, thanks for this copy of Final Fantasy VIII. It goes along very well with my North American copy. Great game. I still think it's a great game. Now I really feel like revisiting it just to see if it's as bad as people are saying. It's probably not, but who knows. So I hope you enjoyed my ramblings of Final Fantasy VIII. 20 years. Wow. That is insane. And I know the Japanese release is technically 20 years. We got it a little bit later. But I had a lot of fun with the game, and man, it brings back some great memories of some simpler times with myself. Just a teenage kid in high school, working at a video store, and enjoying the living crap out of it. And you know what? If I could go back, I would enjoy it 4 more times than I did before. Thanks for watching, everybody.